quiet also the voices within us, that we may hear the voice of Jesus calling us to truth, calling us to love, calling us to life. And may the words of our mouth and the living of our lives proclaim your gospel today and always. Amen. Please be seated. Jesus asked his disciples a very interesting question. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? And let me use that word that Matthew loved to use so much. Suddenly, everybody has an answer. Well, some say John the Baptist. Since he was already dead, we understand that those people believe in reincarnation. The issue is that Jesus existed before the death of John the Baptist. Some say Elijah. Again, reincarnation. Some say Jeremiah. Again, reincarnation. Some say one of the prophets. So you understand in what context Jesus was ministering. He is talking about resurrection when the belief, the general popular belief, was that we live several types of lives. And you know, it also shows that everybody has heard something about Jesus. He says, she says, they say, church, people know something about this. Don't you? Sometimes Sunday worship ends at, let's say, 11:30-ish. But the real meeting begins from the parking lot to the sidewalk. Don't pretend that I've ever seen you, okay? It's like, you heard what happened? No, tell me. I wasn't going to say anything. And whenever someone or somebody begins with, I wasn't going to say anything, you know that they are about to say everything. I have a name for that. I don't call it gospel, I call it gossipel. Because the gospel is the good news about the life of Jesus. But when we start saying, don't you see, she came late, and then she walked all the way from the back of the church to the front of the church, and you can hear her walking. She wanted to show up. This is not gospel. This is what church people do when they want to badmouth someone. Or the gospel is also what so-called Christians heard from somebody who heard it from somebody else. Oh, Jose told Jeff that Father Nat said something, and then Jeff went to say that Jose told him that Father Nat said something to him, and then Raymond, who heard that, doesn't know what was said, but is spreading the news. In my Haitian Creole, we call that mouth radio, meaning radio joy. You know, it's from mouth to ear. We don't filter, we don't analyze, we just report. And then it's not really a report because we always put a little grain of salt, pepper, tomato into it to make it eatable. He says, she says, they say. And apparently the gospel was alive and well in Caesarea Philippi. Everybody was talking about Jesus. But Jesus listened to all the answers and then changes the question. But who do you say that I am? No more gossip. No more second-hand religion. No more telling Jesus what everybody else thinks about Jesus. Who do you say that I am? And Peter answers. Peter, always prompt to say something. Even sometimes if he does not totally master what it is to say. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Peter moves from reporting, I don't know if that word exists in English, colporting, to confessing. See, when you confess, it's not from they say, it is now I say. And that is where faith begins to become personal. But church, the gospel did not disappear in Caesarea Philippi. We still preach it. And sometimes what begins as harmless parking lot or sidewalk conversation becomes something much more dangerous. Because we don't only gossip about one another, we gossip about a whole group of people. We gossip about immigrants. They don't belong here. They came the wrong way. They are taking something away from us. Our jobs, our wives, our husbands, and they need to go. Send them away. We gossip about poor people. They don't want to work. That's why they're poor. They are dirty. They made bad choices. We don't try to understand. We don't see the systemic issues. We just look at their appearance and then we make statements. We gossip about LGBTQIA+. I don't know how many letters that there are. First, they are immoral. The Bible is against that. The shrimp you are eating, the Bible is against it too. When you wear polyester and cotton, the Bible is against that too. Go to Leviticus. Read it all. They are destroying families. And they don't belong in the church. And St. James, we know something about that because many of you walked away at a certain point in time and that was your excuse. God condemned their lifestyle as if we we know the heart of God. Do we? Do we really know the heart of God? And sometimes we say these things about people we have never met. You know? Or they eat dogs, they eat cats. We never met one. We've never been to one's home to see what they are cooking. Like if when we go to an American restaurant, we really know if in the stew there is no rats. Sometimes we never met them. We've never really heard or listened with interest their stories. We don't know the pain that they carried. And there is sometimes a humanity in them that we never care to see. Again, he says, she says, they say, and we repeat. And right in the middle of all of that noise, Jesus asked again, but who do you say that I am? Because church, if we say you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, then our answer cannot stop at our lips. Our answer has consequences. How we treat the immigrant says something about who we believe Jesus is. Because Jesus was one. How we treat the poor says something about who we believe Jesus is. How we treat LGBTQIA plus people says something about who we believe Jesus is. And how we treat the person everybody else is talking about says something about who we believe Jesus is. Because sometimes our mouth gives Jesus the right answer while our lives give Jesus the wrong one. And Paul will not let us get away with that. Paul says, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. Not just your words, not just your doctrine, not just your Sunday morning confession, your bodies, your lives, your living. Peter confesses Christ with his mouth. Paul says, now confess Christ with your life. Because your life is your answer. But thank God, the story doesn't end with Peter's answer. Jesus answers Peter, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. And then Jesus says something extraordinary. You are Peter. And on this rock, I will build my church. Notice what Jesus does not say. Jesus does not say, Peter, you have everything figured out. Go and build my church. Peter, you will never make another mistake again. Go and build my church. Jesus does not say, Peter, from now on, you will always get it right. Go and build my church. We know better. Peter still stumbles. Peter will misunderstand. Peter will speak when he should listen. Peter will even deny Jesus. And yet, Jesus looks at these imperfect disciples and says, on this walk, I will build my church. Because Jesus can turn anything wrong to the right to build something with it. And I need you to understand also, because some churches will tell you that Peter is the first pope, that Jesus named him, that Jesus placed him there, and now he has a power, he is the chief of the church. The only chief of the church is Jesus. The word from Greek is ecclesia, which means a gathering of governing bodies. Not one person. One person cannot gather. When you talk about a gathering, right there, you are talking about a lot of people. Several people gathered. If you are with yourself, I don't know if you suffer like me of different personality or whatever, and then you can say we. But the gathering is made of several people. So the ecclesia that Jesus was talking about was the new governing body that God will institute in God's theocracy. Maybe the good news isn't only that Peter knows who Jesus is. Maybe the good news is that Jesus knows who Peter can become. And Jesus isn't finished with him. Just as Jesus isn't finished with you and me. Isaiah says, look to the rock from which you were hewn, and to the quarry from which you were dug. Remember where you came from. Remember who shaped you. Remember whose hands have been working on you. God took Abraham and Sarah and made a people. Jesus took Simon and called him Peter. And God is still taking ordinary, imperfect, unfinished people and building a church. Not a perfect church. Not a church where everybody always gets it right. But a church where grace keeps transforming us. A church where we can stop repeating what he says, she says, they say, and begin living what Jesus says. And maybe that is what the world needs from the church right now. Not more gospel. I know some of you, if you hear someone say something about you, you are ready to go and have a word with that person. Don't do that. Don't waste your energy and your time. Remember where you come from. I told you that and I will say it again. Every time that I'm crossing the border, I am asked, where do you come from? My answer is heaven. Because I know the intent behind it. It's to make me feel little, to make me feel low. And when I said Haiti, they are going to tell me, oh, the poorest country of the world. Oh, do you know how to read? Because you know, that's what they want to do. Use words to hurt you. But when you know where you come from, when you know that you are created by a God whose glory can transpire through you, you don't mind what he says, she says, they say. And maybe We don't need another church telling the world who is wrong. A church showing the world what love should look like is a better church for the world today. Not merely a church saying Jesus welcomes the stranger, but just saying it. We must become a church welcoming the stranger. When someone new walks through those doors, someone needs to go and meet them and greet them and tell them, if you need the bathroom, that's where they are. If you need water, go here. If you need to sit, please sit beside me so I can help you find your way through the worship. That is welcoming the stranger. Not merely a church saying that Jesus cares about the poor. We need to be a church standing beside the poor. We have a church that says, oh, we are working for reparation. Get involved into repairing the injustice that was done for centuries to people. Start paying back from the benefits that you have collected. Not merely a church saying everybody is made at the image of God. But when I look at your leadership, what I see, only white folks. So I have a legitimate question. Am I in the imago Dei? Am I in the image of God? How come if I am in the image of God, I don't see anyone in that leadership that looks like me? I'm not sure if you've realized that since I've been here, I've rarely printed a white Jesus on the bulletins. First, I know that he wasn't white. And second, I need a Jesus that I can identify with. I don't care. But I feel that if I need to be connected to someone, I need to be connected to someone who looks like me. With big nose. I don't want to get in trouble, so let me stop there. Paul says, we are one body. Different gifts. Different functions. In the church, there is enough room for me to be a priest and for you to be a lay leader. For Jeff to be a cantor. For Ose to be a pianist. For everybody else here to be member of a choir. We need that. But if we all want to control and we have a cord in our hand and we want the priest to be a puppet, when we say jump, we can pull the cord and he'll jump. We are wasting time and energy not putting our own personal gifts, but trying to control someone who is just exercising his or her gifts. Yes, we are different people, but we are one body in one Christ. Some prophesy, some serve, some teach, some encourage, some give, some lead, some show compassion. Nobody has every gift. But everybody has something to offer. And Christ takes all of it, all our different gifts, all our different stories, all our imperfect lives, and says, I will build my church. Notice again, not you will build my church, I will build my church. Christ is still building. So church, Jesus is still asking the question, who do you say that I am? Now, you need your own answer. Not what he says, or she says, or they say. Jesus said, what do you say? And we say, you are the Christ. You are the Son of the living God. You are hope for the hopeless. You are bread for the hungry. You are welcome for the stranger. You are dignity for the rejected. You are freedom for the oppressed. You are life in the face of death. But church, let's not just say it. Let's live it. Let your generosity say it. Let your compassion say it. Let your welcome say it. Let your justice say it. Let your service say it. Let your love say it, because your life is your answer. Not what he says, not what she says, not what they say. Let them talk. But we have something better than the gospel. We have the gospel. And the world doesn't just need to hear it from our mouth. The world needs to see it in our lives. So church, who do you say that Jesus is? Don't just tell me. Let's show the world who Jesus is.